Good evening. It is 6:33 and we are calling the Groton Town Council Committee of the Whole regular meeting agenda on September 10th to order. We will do roll call. We are all present except for Councilor Jones, and Councilor Bordelon is on Zoom this evening. Up next is calendar and communications, and let's begin with having a moment of silence as tomorrow is September 11th, and we'll take a moment to remember that day. Okay, thank you. Calendar and communications. Councilor Merritt, do you have anything you'd like to share?
Not at this time.
All right, thank you. Councilor Bordelon?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to state, I did attend the Board of Ed meeting last evening, and that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Pacino?
I have nothing to pass today.
Thank you. Councilor Rusk?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to remind everyone, the Public Safety Committee meeting is scheduled for September 17th at 4:30. And we will be discussing funding for the Ambulance Association. So if you have any specific questions you would like answered or asked, please get those to me prior to Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a point of privilege, I just want to state that it's kind of hard to hear the last speaker's mic. I couldn't hear it really well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor McBride?
Thank you. Saturday, I attended and helped organize the 23rd Annual James Greenleaf Memorial Run for the Fund, which was set up for a friend of ours who perished in 9/11. So thank you for the moment of silence tonight, Mayor. We give out about $75,000 a year in scholarships, so it was a very successful day. However, it is a conflict with the Groton City Brewfest, so we are looking to change that date next year, so you can attend both of those, because they both seem like they're very worthwhile endeavors. Monday, I also participated in the Connecticut Council of Municipalities Policy on Education, Appropriation, Taxes, and Finance. It was the first committee meeting for the year where we looked at and we reviewed proposals for candidates in the areas of 2025 for the legislative program. Some particular topics that were discussed were more state funding for special education, increasing ECS grants, abolishing the MBR, which is otherwise known as the Education Minimum Budget Request, capping mill rates for seniors, fully funding pilot, sales tax allocations to municipalities, and numerous other measures. And I'll be reporting back to the council and others as I participate in these meetings. And then just the normal emails that all councilors receive. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Gajewski?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to address the unfortunate situation that happened this weekend in New London County where an individual dressed up in KKK robes. This is a wrong, unacceptable, hateful, and does not represent the values of our community. This startled many members of the people who live here, including myself. As a counselor, I strive to advocate for a community where all can live a life where they feel safe and have the ability to pursue the things they wish. In a time where we have become increasingly divided, we should all agree that no one should fear for their well-being regardless of who they are. On a more positive note, the Athletic Fields Task Force Committee will be hosting a hearing about their proposal for fields on September 26th at 6 p.m. at Thrive 55. And then along with Councilor Pacino, Merritt, and Mayor Franco, I attended a mobile home park tour last week and seeing what new manufactured homes really look like. It was incredibly enlightening, and it was a very beautiful space. It was very nice, and I was appreciative to invite it, and it was super informative. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Councilor Parker?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was asked from someone about performing arts, and I said there's a task force that's involved in that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, it's
Okay.
getting closer.
Okay.
Pull it down a little bit. There you go.
All right. About the performing arts, they're asking about a building and what can we do for the community, especially the artists. I said there is a task force. I just want to make sure I announced that. And The hockey rink, someone asked me, a few people asked me about the hockey rink, and I want to thank Mr. Berry for his response, that it is in the progress. There's a couple of things they're waiting on, and hopefully by the end of October, Mr. Burt, did I get that right? They're hoping to hear they're waiting for some material. So they're hoping to have it open by the end of October. And same communications as everyone else, and that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you. I also attended the Eastwood Mobile Home Tour. It was on Buddington Road, and it was very enlightening to find that you could buy a brand-new trailer for about $125,000. Pay it off in, a very short period of time if you choose, but also that it could potentially be less expensive than renting. So there's a path to home ownership for people. This is the season of invitations. More went out. We are invited to October 19th to volunteer and help at the Groton Public Library, the Bumper and Books. On 9/24, USW Local 9411, there is their monthly meeting. And there's a renewable energy webinar. And on 10/6 is the Safe Walk, which honors Domestic Violence Month. And that is at 9 a.m. at the Waterford High School track. And there have been emails sent out about these. I also received communications regarding the rally at the Mystic Village. And just to be clear, that the way I see it is hate is not welcome here. I also received communications in support of some new rules, and also attended, watched the Board of Ed meeting last night. All right, so moving on. Approval of minutes. Counselor Parker, would you like to take that?
I make a motion to approve the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of August 13, 2024. I so move.
Second.
Second, Bordelon?
Moved by Parker, seconded by Gajewski. All right, I'm not seeing any hands, so we'll take a vote on the minutes. Number 2024-795, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Counselor Bordelon, I didn't hear your vote.
I'm in support.
Thank you. That passes 8-0. Up next is new business, number 2024-797, MadVac litter vacuum vehicle. This is on page 7 in our packet. Counselor Gajewski, would you like to read the motion?
Item 2024-797, MadVac litter vacuum vehicle. Motion to recommend a resolution approving the use of $65,000 from the fleet fund balance to assist in the purchase of a litter vacuum vehicle for the Public Works Department and refer to the RTM per Rule 6-5-3. So moved.
Second, Parker.
Moved by Gajewski, seconded by Parker. Good evening, Mr. Hanover. Would you like to give us a little update on this?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Greg Hanover, Director of Public Works. As you probably all know, litter is, one of the bigger problems in town. We see it all over the state.
I'm gonna just rise to a point of privilege. The mic is, I don't know if it's on. I apologize. I don't mean to interrupt, just cannot hear.
Is this one better?
Thank you.
Okay,
That
thank
is
you.
better. Thank you.
Okay. Again, the litter is the problem in the town, along state, town roads, sidewalks. So we try to do what we can with our crews, and I know there's volunteer groups, but there's only so much that we can do. So Public Works has identified that the purchase of a small specialized piece of equipment that actually goes along sidewalks and sucks up litter. I think we brought this to the council before, to looking for the NIPS, some allocation money for the NIPS fund to use this. We did go get a firm quote for the MadVac. It's the brand name. It's the LR50. It's a diesel-powered unit. With all the options, we're looking at right around $100,000 with all the options, the dealer prep and freight. In October of 2023, the town council allocated 42.5% of the town's 2023 NIPS allocation money That 42.5% represents about $38,000. So we're, obviously short. We could either wait, another year or two to get that money through the NIPS funds, but, with the increase in complaints we're getting, the department felt that, we should look to get this vehicle sooner rather than later. So we're looking at using about $65,000 of the fleet fund balance. We have, I think, roughly $600,000 in that balance. So we would use that 65 plus the 38 in the NIPS money to purchase this vehicle. We did, on the vehicle itself, we did look at, this is, again, a diesel-powered unit. We did look at electric-powered, but they're about $150,000, so that's $50,000 more. We just didn't feel that that was justified. There's a few other cities in Connecticut that are currently using these. One of them is the city of Waterbury. We did reach out and talk to their fleet guys. They're very happy with them. They say they work well. They use them all year long. They're fairly maintenance-free, and parts are readily available, so they're very happy with them. They think they have about 3 or 4 of these things that they use. So that's it. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Councilor McBride?
Thank you. I'm in support of this purchase. However, I would like to make one recommendation or modification or motion. I reached out to John Burton. There are NIP funds available, as I believe all the councilors received some information. There is $44,000 of unallocated funds that we received in May. If the council wanted to move forward and provide $15,000 to the city, it would leave $37,453 that we could use use the NIP funds, as opposed to using the entire $65,000 from the fleet balance. So I'd like to make a motion to amend to make a resolution approving the use of $27,546.45.
All right, let's go slow, because I got to write it down. All right,
Make a motion to approving the use of $27,546.45 from the Fleet Reserve Fund, and to utilize $37,453.55 from the NIP funds to full the entire amount of the $65,000 needed.
I'll
to
second
purchase-
that.
okay. We have an amendment by McBride, seconded by Bordelon. Do you have any other comments you would like to?
No, thanks.
Okay.
Merritt.
Merritt, I'm sorry, I'm flaking today. Councilor Merritt.
I'd like to ask the Director of Public Works, is this move going to fit your needs for money?
As long as it gets to the $100,000, yes, which it looks like it will.
What were we asking for, 100,000 or 65?
60, yeah, the remaining is, the proposal was to use 65 out of the fleet balance was the original motion, and then it was amended, and it was divided up between the fleet and the NIP, and it does equal 65,000 between the two.
What about the 100,000 you quoted, Greg?
That's the price of the vehicle. So we have existing about 38,000 in the NIP, so it looks like the other 65 is coming from some additional NIP money and fleet fund balance. Is that correct? Yes.
Yeah, from NIPS and from fleet, as well as the 2023 amount that was set aside, add those all together and,
I'm in favor of it as long as we can meet the needs with the amendment. We're probably long overdue in some respects.
okay. Do you have any more comments? Okay. Anybody else? Councilor Kowalski.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through the mayor to the town manager, could you give me the total current funding for the fleet reserve and the total current amount of funds in the NIP funds?
Excuse me, I have a cold. We have approximately 600,000 in the fleet fund. We just received the first of 2 payments for NIPS for the year in May, $44,063 total. I would have anticipated about the like amount at some point later in the year.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Bordelon?
Thank you. Yeah, I did a lot of research on this, and I'm definitely big on the environment and making sure that, we are doing everything possible, especially being a coastal community. But with this vehicle being a diesel vehicle, I feel that as we start to purchase, including myself, I'm looking to move, obviously not towards full hybrid, because there's not enough charging stations, but definitely looking at making sure that it's not full electric, but moving towards hybrid myself with my next purchases. And I think for a town municipality, if we're getting a vehicle to clean up the environment and help assist with that, we should be looking at the green version. And if that is the electric version, that's something that I want to get behind and figure out how we make that happen. As it was stated, there could be other NIP funds later in the year. So my first question is to the town manager through the mayor. How do if we take money out of the fleet fund, could we go back and put the money back in the fleet fund as we receive other NIP money? That's my first question.
Mr. Burr?
Yes, the council could do that.
Okay. So for me, it's a no-brainer. I think that we made this, environmental resiliency mindset, and I really think.
I'm sorry, Mr. Burr is trying to say something else. I'm sorry.
I did, he stopped and I thought.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Can we
Yeah.
stop Counselor Bordelon's
There are-
time?
I did.
I thought about it a little, had a second thought. There are restrictions on the use. If you just blankly put it back, it wouldn't be restricted to those uses, so no. Unless you actually put it and said we're gonna use it for something environmentally friendly in there.
Okay.
Okay, so we can't put it towards, so for example, if we purchased the fleet vehicle for $150,000 and we wanted to take the NIP money in as it comes in, since it trickles in slowly, we can't apply that to offset the cost.
Mr. Burr?
My guess is, I'd want to confirm with Dee, but I'm pretty sure you could, similar as what we've allocated NIPS and cannabis, other things in advance, you could say, we're gonna put these funds as they come in towards this, go ahead and do the purchase, but we'll put these funds to apply it to this purchase, and any overage would come out of the fleet fund.
Right. I just am a firm believer in that money coming in is proper use for a vehicle being funded by such, as well as making sure that vehicle on NIP funds is being the most environmental friendly, which is an electric version. Nothing worse than a diesel thing sucking up trash, in my opinion, and I speak solely for myself. But watching an electric vehicle pick up trash, wow, that's where we should be going. So I would like to make an amendment that we look to fund this fully with NIP funds, as the town manager stated, however that process would be efficient. Also because my concern is.
What is your motion? What is your amended motion?
Well, maybe hold my motion. Let me just say my
Okay.
comment, and I'll do my amended motion after. My reason is because the fleet fund is always underfunded and fleet cars are needed, and I don't think at this time we should be taking the money for this vehicle from that funding. If we have money coming in for an environmental side like the NIP money, which would be perfect usage. So again, I would like to make an amendment that we purchase an electric machine truck, and that it's fully funded by the NIPS. Obviously, if we have to offset it initially, that's fine, but we fully fund or put the funds in market to go towards the purchase of that vehicle.
How much was the electric vehicle?
It was I don't have a firm quote for it, but it was estimated to be $150,000.
150, and you have approximately 38. You would need another $112,000 if we took off the 2023 NIP funding money. 112, and we're only expected to get 88,000 this year. So this would have to wait until next year. Is that correct?
What we do is, I work with Dee, we'd probably go ahead and get the purchase going. Whatever we get NIPS dollars this year would go towards that purchase. Anything, if, my understanding is anything that remains that's not funded by NIPS, we would take out of fleet. That's my understanding of where that was heading.
Well, she said 100% from NIPS.
Oh, then yes, we'd have to, because that's.
Point of information,
Your point of information?
that it would be fully funded by NIPS, but it would be, we could offset it with other costs as the town manager had stated. But the goal would be later, yes, maybe next year we'd get more money and we'd offset it later. But yes, fully funded by NIPS would be the goal, with the offset, obviously, as the town manager said, he could put the difference in.
So you're asking for 100% of this year's NIP money to go towards an electric vehicle vacuum.
Absolutely.
Is there a second?
Yes.
McBride will second for discussion. I'm still a little unclear on what we're talking about, but.
On a parliamentary inquiry,
Your inquiry?
could you, say the motions on the floor? I'm a little lost right now.
From what I understand, it's to purchase the electric vehicle with 100% of 2024 NIP funds, which we are not sure exactly what the total will be, and then offset with whatever is remaining from the fleet fund, the balance remaining.
Thank you.
Is that correct, Counselor Bordelon?
Right, and that's where I had asked the manager, town manager, let's just say we end up having to fund out of the fleet fund 20,000, and the next year we get in that money. He said that it could be marked that it would, be set for, because it's gonna take a while to get this purchased and everything like that. So we'll probably have I'm thinking another set of funding in the following year.
Thank you. Any questions on the amendment? Counselor McBride?
Yeah, just a question. So as I understand it, with this amendment, we'd still be purchasing it because the need is there. It's just we're utilizing NIP funds, all of the NIP funds, and we're going to use the fleet fund balance until at a later date when the NIP funds can reimburse the fleet funds. Is that correct? I'm here?
I apologize if you're asking me, I'm having trouble hearing with the mic, if you could just speak a little more.
Yeah,
over it,
sure.
I do apologize.
Certainly. I just want to I guess we're moving forward with the purchase. This amendment wouldn't slow down the purchase of this need right now. It's just shifting the amount and how we're going to utilize the funding to pay for it. We're going to utilize part of the fleet fund at a time that it will be reimbursed later.
That is, we have to wait
That
for
would be my
all
hope,
of the
and
NIP
like
money.
making sure it's electric.
You would have to wait to get all the NIP money in before you would know what you would have to offset with the fleet fund.
Fleet.
So I don't know. I don't know if you could maybe put a deposit down and get the order started, but to pay it off, you have to wait and to find out what we get from the NIPS to offset the balance with the,
Okay, and just for clarity, I'm in support of if we're able to purchase it without a delay and using fleet fund balance now and being reimbursed later, but I'm not in favor of delaying until whenever the funds become available to purchase it, so. I'm done.
Counselor Parker, did you have your hand up? Mm-hmm. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you for Mr. Burt, please. Mr. Burt, how does that work for counting purposes? Because the NIPS funds are from a specific counting source. So can we reimburse to the fleet fund that way? Or is that a question for Ms. Morrison?
My understanding is that you would pay out of fleet initially, but as these other funds, you use, of course, what net funds you have now, but as more come in, she could basically change, okay, we're going to reclassify these ones as what we're using to pay for it.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding now. May I have a point of information myself?
Okay.
From what I understood was, we were going to use 100% of the NIP money,
Oh, and she just
And-
said that's fine, so.
Oh, she's watching.
and then we would offset it with fleet money.
Yes.
So we have to wait to see what comes in from
You
the
don't-
NIPS before you can even,
You don't have to, you could do.
That's
many
the
different
motion on
ways.
the floor.
Yeah, I'm just saying you don't have to.
right. Go ahead, Council Parker. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just didn't understand what the motion
Okay.
is on the floor versus what we're discussing. So, okay, go ahead.
Second question through you for Mr. Hanover or Mr. Burt. Is the electric one going to be able to be purchased within this year? Do we know that? And hopefully it doesn't need to be built? Because that would probably delay, which wouldn't happen until the following year. So having the diesel, and I understand the concern, but having the diesel that's probably already on the lot to take and bring here to be able to do all the work that you need to get done.
Yeah, neither one of them are going to be on the lot. I mean, this is a small manufacturer, so they kind of build to order. I don't know about the delivery time or the lead time for electric vehicles. We didn't really look into them that much. The gas one is probably like, or the diesel one, I'm sorry, is probably like 6 months. But, you know, we need to give them a purchase order, so we need the funding to be able to do that before we can even order it.
All right, so part 3 of my question is, we don't know for sure when the next set of money comes in. Do we have a timeline of when the next NIP monies will come in? Because that means we're holding it. You're not going to be able to get a purchase order. I'd rather not do a purchase order without ensuring that we have the funds there, at least most of the funds there. When's the next NIP deposit? Because if it just happened in May, it probably won't happen for another 6 months.
Late in the year, probably November-ish would be the next one.
So would that timeline work in purchasing that equipment for you? 6 months, November, it won't come until the spring, basically, and that's when you need it.
Correct. Yep.
So we will have to remember this during the budget season, that we're moving money from the fleet. So we would have to make note for the budget process, because it's going to be outside the scope eventually.
Town manager?
Well,
Am I
I'll
right?
wait till you're done.
No, go ahead.
I just had a couple of things. One, I just wanted to remind people that Greg has been tasked with looking at the NIP recycling program, which would utilize the NIP funds. So that would take that off the table. And then, Greg, do you know of any other towns that have the electric? Have you?
No.
So we don't know
I think
what
the other ones have
maintenance is.
the diesel, so.
Okay, so I don't know what the maintenance is on it. And if we were to use NIPS, my preference would be, I think it's a little more complicated going past the budget year. My preference would be use the current NIPS we have put away, NIPS that just came in, and the November NIPS. We can buy it right up front from the fleet. She'll just reclassify as those dollars come in. But I know it gets a little more complicated if we push it off into the 26 budget. So I would say you'd make up the difference from fleet. So you have what, how much do you have right now? You have 38,000-ish. Depending if you take another, then if you do give money to the city, then you'd have, let's see, 112-ish. Quick math, but so the rest would be funded from the
Fleet.
fleet fund.
Thank you.
But we could get it ordered now.
So we don't have information on the electric, so we can't make a decision. Do you?
I don't have any specific information on the electric vehicle, no.
So in order for me to feel comfortable about purchasing it, I would rather have information up front before we make a decision on going ahead and getting the electric, because it could be a different lead time, and you wanted this for next spring. I think that's what you're looking for, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we'd put this thing out, yeah, this winter on the road, if we go, or late winter, early spring, yes.
So I'm going to say I would like more information about the electric before we confirm that, and I don't want to, I hate to hold anything out, but that's where I'm going with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Rusk?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I actually was going to say about the same thing that Councilor Parker just stated. Without more information, I'm uncomfortable moving forward with this. I do agree that it would be environmentally more sound to get an electric vehicle versus a diesel vehicle, but if we don't know if the electric vehicle works as well, we don't know anything about it, we don't know what the maintenance looks like, what the longevity of it is, I would prefer to wait before we vote on this to find out actual information. I just did rough math, and at 150, well, we were looking at already spending $75,360.53 in NIP funds. That was between the 2023 NIP funds and the May NIP funds. If we get approximately the same amount in November timeframe, that would be another about $37,000, which still leaves us with about $37,000 needed for an electric vehicle. I am not comfortable allocating that again until we find out more information. So if that means we table this or we hold this until our next meeting, I would prefer that.
Mayor?
Counselor Merritt?
I'm not in favor of tabling this at all because nobody has spoken anything about the power supply to charge this vehicle. Do we have adequate power supply to keep up with the work that we want to do? If not, that's going to be an additional expense. We either get it done or we don't. We've got a long list of tabled items to go through.
Thank you. Counselor Pacino?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We mentioned the fact that it's diesel, and it seems as though that's a bad word. It's a 2024 diesel. It's not a 1974 diesel. I'm sure it's not going to be spewing black smoke. I'm sure that it is following all the environmental rules and regulations that we have for diesel vehicles in this state and in the country. I don't see the need to spend an extra $50,000 of taxpayer money, plus whatever a special charging station for this electric vehicle may have, plus the weight. Now we got to do a lot more weight. We know there's a need now. I'm not in favor of this amendment in any way, shape, or form. And you said 6 months is as far out as it's going to be if we go forward now with the diesel?
Correct.
Okay. That'll put it on the road for spring.
Yep.
Do have a couple of other questions. We already have, the other thing is, we already have a positive feedback from other towns with the diesel that they have, and they like it, it works well. Did you look at any other fuel options? Gasoline?
There is no gas option.
There is no, it's either diesel or the electric?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. When you looked at the diesel and the electric, what made you choose the diesel?
Familiarity with, the maintenance of it, the experience that these other communities have had with it, and then just the price. I mean, $50,000 is a lot for electric upgrade, I feel.
Now, this would be for Mr. Burt, through the mayor. Would we need to replace the fleet funds? Is that a necessity? I mean, they got 600,000.
The original, excuse me, the original motion was to use solely fleet funds, but could you do another 50? Sure.
But if we did the 65,000 straight from the fleet fund, we could still pay that back through the NIP fund.
Yes.
Down the line. Okay. Are there any alternative uses for this machine?
No, it's pretty much a specialized piece of equipment. But like I said, it can be used in, parking lots, parks, and those type of areas.
Okay. And lastly, when it comes in, can I drive it?
Yeah, we can arrange that.
I'll train. Thank you very much. I'm good.
Thank you. All right, so when you thought of this vehicle, the vacuum, do you plan on using it in the winter as well? Like if there's areas that need cleaning up?
Oh, yeah, because,
I
the
didn't
winter
hear you,
time
I'm
is
sorry.
really.
John was coughing. I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
No, the winter time is when, the litter is very noticeable, because now it gets in the brush, or the long grass, you don't really see it as much, but in the winter time is when we probably get most of our complaints, because all of a sudden, it's just there.
Yeah.
Especially if there's no snow on the ground. So yes, like I said, Waterbury does use theirs all year round. They said there's no issues with using it in the wintertime.
How long has Waterbury had theirs?
They've got a couple new ones, and they have a couple they've had for a few years now.
Okay. So is it fully electric or is it a hybrid?
It's
The-
fully
the-
electric battery.
Fully. All right, so I could support this First Amendment on the floor by Councilor McBride. And the reason I say this is because although electric, everybody talks about how wonderful it is, and I think it is great for certain people, but then again, there's the other ones where in the winter, sometimes when it's too cold, the battery just won't work. Just won't. What if you are on the road and your battery dies? I mean, I know it happens in cars, but I would think in an electric vehicle, those type of things could happen more often. Also, I know some people that have had electric vehicles, and if the battery does go out on this vehicle, it is extremely expensive to replace, to the point where it's more affordable to just buy a new car than to replace the battery. These are things that I've heard, I've read about these things, so although electric is the future, I'm not really so secure in it at this moment. And to spend an additional $50,000 on that at this time for a vacuum cleaner, which, does it take any special license? Is just get in there? Is it like a lawnmower?
Well, you've got a picture of it in your packet there.
I can't see the inside, though.
Oh, the cab, yeah, it doesn't look very roomy, that's for sure. It does have a joystick that operates the boom there, which, so it's, it is heated for wintertime operation, but there's no special, you don't need a CDL or anything like that to operate it.
Okay, great. Because I too may want to drive it myself.
Shooting a line.
Definitely, I think you need to come up with a good name for it, though. But I would be in favor of the first amended motion that was made by McBride, simply because I don't mind using the current NIP money, but as was discussed, there is potentially future usage of that money as well if we do a buyback program, if the council does approve such a thing. But it might take some time to go through the planning and such, so I'm not too concerned about that money at the moment, but in the future, we may need it. So that's where I stand, and I will be probably voting in favor of the first amended. Counselor Bordelon?
Thank you. For me, I'm always going to stand environmental first, and I do think as a town, if you have a selection of one that's preferred, it should be still presented in our packet, which it was not, the electric option or the specifications or the research on the electric. I do have trouble with the idea that we're picking up trash and we're spitting diesel out. Yeah, it's modern, but I've been behind many 2024 diesel trucks, and the overwhelming exhaust of a diesel engine coming into your car is quite cumbersome. I think we have a chance. It's at taxpayer dollars. We have the NIP money coming in, and it's a great opportunity to purchase something like this. We made an initiative as a town to be looking more green and environmentally friendly, and that's where my heart is. So that's where I'm going to stand, and that's why I presented this motion. If it does not have the support tonight, that's fine, but I duly stand on the record in favor of moving and looking at the future, because these vehicles last quite some time, and I think it's vital. Also, when you look at the maintenance of an engine and the oil changes and all that starts to add up. So there's always a cost offset. You lose one, but you gain another. But I stand firmly with making sure we're looking at more, environmental ways to improve our community, being a coastal community. So it just, to me, didn't look very well with the diesel vehicle sucking trash. That's the image I can't get out of my head. But with that, I stand with the council and their decision on how they want to vote if I don't have the support. But I'm on the record as such saying that this is a great idea, and I'm okay with that, standing for the environment. With that, I do think if we move with the other option, which I'll put an amendment on if this one was to fail, another motion, that all the funds should come, no matter if it's electric or not, should come from the NIP money, which would also be the money that would be coming from November. So through the mayor to the town manager, what would that money again look like if we went with the non-electrical option, if we use the money current and the November money roughly?
Could you repeat the question?
What would the numbers look like if we use the NIP money currently and the November seed of money if we went with the non-electric option?
Well, in terms of, I think we told it around, Jill, did you get around 112, 113 if we took all those dollars total?
I'm sorry, one more time. Did I
For
get-
the NIPS, I know you had looked at it, was it around 112, 113,000-ish
So if
going
we
through
use,
November's
It
allocation?
was, if you did 44,000 later, it would be 37,453 if we took out 10%, or was it 15% for the city? So if Counselor McBride's resolution is $27,546.45 from Fleet Reserve and $37,453.55 from the NIP funds, then we would be looking at using $27,546.45 from the next NIP funds.
Leaving about 10,000 to the town, assuming you do the same for city.
Right. I think the
Correct.
bottom line is, don't you need $65,000 of NIP money?
Yeah, bottom line.
That's the bottom
yes.
line.
Yep.
So if I may continue my time, so I think all of it should be funded. Again, my first choice is always going to be go greener. Why do we have to worry about what other towns are doing? Let's be the forerunner. Let's get out there and show those towns that we stand on the green side and make that initiative to purchase it. So, but if we don't have the support of this council to do such, we have to go with the other option, which is the diesel option. I think it should be fully funded through the NIP funds. So I will throw that motion on. Should I do that now or wait until this
You
one
can't
fails
right
and then
now.
throw it on through the mayor?
There's no room for another motion.
Okay, so I'll throw it on once it fails. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll be throwing it on for it to be fully funded with the diesel of your choice.
Counselor Pacino?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As most people probably don't know, diesel engines, well taken care of, almost last forever. 500,000, a million miles is nothing that's unheard of. This is going to be a smaller engine. It may not last that long, but it's going to last quite a long time. Longer than a battery, I'm almost positive. It's going to last longer than a battery. I believe that, I believe I lost my place. That's what I believe. So I don't think today is a question of whether or not we want to get a vacuum. Today's question is, do we want to get this vacuum? And my answer is yes, we want to get this vacuum. And I personally would like to see it funded completely with the fleet fund balance, so we can get this going now, because you have a need for it now. And then we'll worry about putting that 65,000 back into the fleet fund with the NIP fund at a later date. And that's it. That's my piece. Still want to drive it, though.
Thank you. Counselor Gieske?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I view this as a win-win vote because although I prefer electric, I'm okay with diesel. As my colleague, Councilor Pacino, said, it's going to last for a long time. And there's the balance of trading off. So I'll be in favor of the amended motion for the electric vehicle, but if it fails, I'll still be in favor of the original motion. And I do disagree with my colleague, Councilor McBride. I would actually prefer to use fleet reserve balance instead of additional NIP funds, just in case. I would like a little bit more flexibility just in case we do that buyback program. So I'll be in favor of the Second Amendment, against the First Amendment, but either way, I'll still vote for the final, whatever the final resolution is. So
Okey-doke.
that's it.
Any more comments? All righty, we're going to start voting now. So we have a second amended motion, which is use 2024 NIP funds 100% with an offset from the fleet balance. This is Councilor Bordelon's second amended motion, seconded by McBride. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Point of information, point of privilege, you did state that it was an electric vehicle that I was,
Excuse me, with an electric vehicle. That's correct.
I'm sorry, because that was not stated.
Correct. It was in your motion. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Abstentions? All right, so that fails 3 to 5 to 0.
I'd like to put another motion on the floor.
Your amended motion.
I'd like, as the town manager stated, if we decide to fully fund it through the NIPS, it would still leave a positive amount of money, and it would not hold it up because he could use the fleet fund. So I would like a motion that if we're gonna go diesel, that it should be fully funded through the NIP money.
I don't hear a second.
That's okay.
Thank you. Moving on to the first amended motion that was made by Councilor McBride, which is to use $27,546.45. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Couldn't round it. And $37,453.55 from the NIPS. Motion by McBride, seconded by Bordelon. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions?
All abstain?
That passes 6 to 1 to 1. So now we have to vote on the main motion as a whole. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Counselor Bordelon, I didn't hear your vote.
All abstain? I said I'm abstaining.
Thank you. That passes 7 to 0 to 1 with amendment. Okay, moving on. Thank you so much. You have a great evening.
Madam Mayor?
And please let us know when you get it, and we all want to drive it. So it has to come, you had to come early to a council meeting one night.
I'm not driving it.
We're all driving it.
I worked for too many years.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. All right, good evening. So next on our agenda is 2024-323-3 Groton Heights and Pleasant Valley Draft RFPs. Good evening, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. John Reiner, Director of Planning and Development Services.
And Corinne Piazza, Economic Development Specialist.
Hello. All right, so tonight we're just going to kind of run you through some of the changes. We do have a brief presentation to kind of just give some highlights on this. The manager's going to pull up in a second. But, you know, at this point tonight, we're going to talk about both the RFPs for Groton Heights and Pleasant Valley. We've taken these to the council a number of times, and we think we're at that final point where we're really looking to get these out on the street and get moving along on these. We did have, okay, good, presentation's up, excellent. So tonight, really what we're looking for is a review of the documents, as you'll see, and we'll kind of talk through them briefly. We've reformatted them a little bit. Content hasn't changed, but again, just kind of want to briefly touch upon that. And also looking for consensus from all of you to release those RFPs. And then kind of the next steps after tonight would be releasing those RFPs. And then us coming back maybe in a month or so to talk to you a little bit about the process and some of the next steps, as well as the timeline of how this all kind of goes through once those RFPs hit the street, and the process to get us reviewing those once we get some proposals in. Next slide.
Great. So for the RFP administrative reformat, the purpose behind that was essentially our Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation was to reformat for clarity and consistency. So we dove in and did that and created a template that we can use across all of our RFPs. We also, as staff, dove in to the new town land into the new town land disposition process to make sure that our RFPs aligned with that. So for example, the schedule is newer based on that new process. We also had our town attorney review the legal language and the documents that we required the developers to submit. And then the most important takeaway is there's no material changes. We didn't change the content or the intent of the document, especially in the preferred scope of development. It's really an administrative update. And the outcomes of that are really improved administrative function. We also updated that template again across all the RFPs, so.
John, next slide.
Oh, thank you so much. Sorry. We have our clearly defined purpose, terms, submittal requirements, and evaluation criteria, and it makes this document a lot less user-friendly, a lot more user-friendly for the whole process. So from our respondents and developers that are applying to our property sale review committee and their experience in what they're actually reviewing and evaluating, and to the town council review. Again, our schedule aligns with the new town process, and we removed all the redundancy and updated our supplemental information, such as making sure the links work, they're connecting to the most applicable information. Next slide, please. So that's really the presentation overall. There's not a lot to it. It's essentially that administrative reformat, and so we're looking for those RFPs to be approved and then consensus to release them. And as John mentioned, we would do so in the next month and then return essentially with an updated schedule based on that new town policy and what you can expect for our steps moving forward to keep the RFP process going.
Happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions on this? Counselor Gajewski.
I know the answer to this, but I would like it on the record. To whoever can answer it. This is just a more clearer version. There were no structural changes from the previous RFP, correct?
Correct.
Okay, just wanted that on the record. And I do want to say I do appreciate a little bit of a cleanup. It is much clearer, much neater, and I appreciate the thorough work. So
Great.
thank you, and I'll be in favor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Burt.
I just want to, I may have missed it since my ears are clogged, but it was a recommendation to reformat from the Planning and Zoning Commission, so it was a good recommendation.
Counselor Merritt.
Not to go back in time, but this should speed up the process as opposed to what happened with Thayer Mahan and Groton Heights School.
Yes.
That's what I wanted. Thank you very much.
I've got a request to put down the presentation.
Please do. Yes, there is a hand up there. Thank you.
I can always pull it back up if needed.
Thank you. To clarify, this is the RFP process. It's not going to speed up the process, the next steps. That would be after, right? That would be the contractual obligations that come later. Is that correct?
Correct. So we'll still be following the entirety of the process that the council has in place and any future contractual requirements that are in there. But really, from a logistical standpoint, it gives a lot more clarity to the document. So in that sense, we're hoping it creates a lot less confusion for any folks that are going to be responding to the RFP, to the public that wants to review and understand what it means and what it's saying, as well as once that property review committee is going through it, and then to the council when they want to go to select a preferred developer. You can really clearly see these are the goals of, what the town's asking for. What is at the property is clearly stated, and kind of the review process is all now very clearly stated within the document.
Thank you. Counselor Merritt, did you have anything else?
No, I'm satisfied with that.
Thank you. Counselor Borderline.
Thank you. Definitely think this is, since I've started, this is definitely an improvement in its format, for sure. So that is much appreciated. I will say, though, I do draw myself to page 4, the town goals and preferred scope of development. There's 5 bullet points there with it continuing on 1 on page 4 and 1 and 4 on page 5. What I don't see there as a town goal, which I overheard over and over, and I thought we talked about, or at least that's what I had written down, that a goal, we can't tell a developer that we want it, but a goal would be having that affordability or mixed income housing. And I don't see that as a goal. And the outcry from our community for lack of affordable housing, again, it might not be what we get, but isn't that one of our goals?
Yes, and it's actually, I
I'm sorry, that's
apologize.
in the next section, if
Sorry.
you go down to the 5th bullet point. after the next paragraph, where it states, including
Correct.
housing as or in a project proposal is not a requirement, but any project proposal that includes housing should include no less than 10% of units as affordable housing and affordable housing as different income limits.
Right, but I guess the way, for transparency purposes and quick readability, I did see that, so thank you for drawing me to that, I'm aware that that was there. But it should be in the bullet point. When you look at the quick, frequent flyers at the top, it just, I don't know, I guess it depends on how you read this. Are these our top 5 ones, or is all of these? I guess that's, I mean, how are we reading this? Because with the break in addition, those make me lead to believe that these are our top 5. And I had someone else read this who does this in another town that does development and stuff, and they said, right, to me, it looks like if I come in with these top 5, I'm hitting the top 5 goals. So maybe if you could clarify that a little bit, please.
Sure, and to clarify, those top ones are basically based on the town land disposition policy. So those are already pre-established as any parcel, essentially, that's what you're looking at to get out of that parcel at a high level in a policy standpoint. And then the next group of bullets are essentially development guidelines that the town council put together for Groton Heights and Pleasant Valley specifically.
Right, I guess, I just want to see that we, again, that paragraph that breaks it, I just would love to see in the top 5 that, a goal is to, make our, seek, to satisfy all income levels of affordable housing. Down here, that is a goal, and then down in addition, but, I mean, I see how you have it written. For me, it's not my favorite, that's why we're reviewing it, right? We're all throwing our opinions in here. I have to vote on this too, so, to me, I think that is one of the top things, not just the preferred, or it's just like, to me, it's like, our goal is we need housing, we need all income. In addition, it says here, and it kind of just reads as, it being secondary, is my concern.
Okay, and then one more clarification on that as well is, so with the way the RFP is designed, both fall under town goals and preferred scope of development. So throughout the rest of the document, everything points to this section. So no matter what they propose, whether they're talking about their finances, to the benefit to the town, what their project concept is, we always ask them to relate back to this entire section, not just one section of the bullet, one section of the bullet. So I think as you read through the whole document, it becomes apparent that all of these are collective goals, not necessarily one prioritized over the other.
I guess for me, with the outpour of people wanting housing, the way that paragraph reads, additionally, the town wants the property to be developed in a manner that is generally consistent with development guidelines as listed below. These guidelines are not intended to be exclusive. I think as a developer coming in, those top 5 ones are the ones sounds like the most important, and affordable housing is. And we can say that it's going to be a caveat, but that is a goal that we have affordability across all income levels. That's the goal I heard from my community when they came out, and that's not up there. So that's what I'm having trouble with.
I just want to clarify that this is the wording that this council voted on and approved.
Not everybody was unanimous on that, and there were people, just so you know.
But this was approved by this body, and after it's been approved, I think what they're here tonight for is just to see consensus that we can move forward with the release and issuance of the RFPs. In all reality, they could have done this without coming to us tonight. They were just, from what I understand, there is no vote necessary on this. It is simply to bring it to us, to show us how they changed the formatting, to show us the different changes, that it reads more clearly now. And this has already been passed by this council and gone through the proper channels and now can be released. And they would like our consensus.
With no disrespect, and I had the floor, it's, the minority report is just as important, and so I can constantly keep advocating for my community. So just because it's not there doesn't mean that it can't
Thank you. Your time has expired.
Thanks.
Counselor Gieske, did you have your hand up?
No, I was
I'm
just
sorry.
stretching.
Mr. Burt?
Just, of course, this evolution of these documents have gone on for years. But I believe under that first bullet point for the more broad goals, to enhance the quality of life for Groton's residents, businesses, and visitors, I think part of the affordable housing was considered to be a subset of that, enhance the quality of life.
Thank you. Counselor Pacino?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I look at this as I would when I'm looking to buy a car on Auto Trader or Facebook Marketplace. There are filters. You can click every filter you want. You're not going to get anything. If you use less filters, you may get something that you don't expect, and it may be wonderful. But if you keep clicking those filters, it have to be this mileage, it has to be this type of tires, you're not gonna get that golden nugget that you're looking for. It's not gonna happen. I think these 5 bullet points up top, I think they're fine. Everything else is great too. We start making more demands, we're gonna get less and less input. And I think we need more input. At the end of the day, we're making the call. At the end of the day, so we could have 100 people submit, and they could be all over the place. We're still going to pick one. But I'd rather pick one of 100 than one of 2, any day.
And one thing that's really great with the administrative reformat is essentially, we do identify those preferred items, as you mentioned, but we leave room for that creativity for concepts we might not even have thought of, and letting the experts tell us what that could be. And really, the administrative update is about making it easier to compare if we have apples and oranges as far as types of concepts, really making at least the process much more of an apples-to-apples comparison as we get a vast array of creative approaches. So it's intended to not limit that creativity, but help at least the review process so that we can essentially compare apples to apples and choose the best applicant.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, seeing no other hands?
Sorry,
Counselor Russ?
really quick. I just want to say thank you. This format is really readable and easy, and Groton Heights has been closed since 2007. I've said this before, my daughter was in 4th grade, and she just left her 4th grade teaching job, so that was a long time ago. So thank you. I'm very excited, not only as a counselor, but as a neighbor of this school. I'm elated to see that both of these schools, my kids went to both of these schools are up for RFP, and thank you for all of your hard work. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, seeing no more hands, we're just going to take a consensus that we, let's see how it's written here, that we will take a consensus on moving forward with the release and issuance of the RFPs.
Yes.
Move forward, young man.
All right, seems as though, Counselor Borderline, are you good with moving forward with the RFPs? Counselor Borderline?
Are you looking for a vote or?
No, I'm asking if you are just good with moving forward with releasing and issuance of the RFPs.
Mine's not going to change anything, so I think you got your consensus. I'm fine. Yeah, I think it's fine.
Excuse me?
Said it's fine. Like, I mean, mine.
Thank you, then.
It's not going to change anything.
Well, there you go. Can't wait till they start getting released. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. 2024-638 Board of Education Operations Review. So to start this one off, this one, get to the right page. Starts on our packet on page 68. Before we make a motion, I would like us to, there's some reading involved here. So I'd like Counselor Gajewski, would you mind on page 68, reading the background, the whole background part, without making the motion yet, please?
Got it. Issue, Board of Ed operational review, the background. The town auditors noted that the FYE 2023 annual audit processed that a significant amount of the Board of Education expenditure, in parentheses greater than $700,000, were recorded to the incorrect period, but was found by the town control environment. Without the town finding the issue, the BOE would have been over budget for the fiscal year. The auditors recommend the policies and procedures of current controls be reviewed and procedures over general ledger maintenance be updated. The FYE 2023 corrections necessary by the Board of Education in the issue above contributed to an unstable budget environment for the FYE 2024 BOE budget. At their special meeting on June 6, 2024, the BOE requested $1,399,824 in supplemental funding from the town council to be used to offset remaining FYE 2024 expenses and to help restore the healthcare corridor and health reserve. Over the last several months, the BOE has worked to alleviate the budget overage, but the request for funds remains active. There are a variety of reasons that contributed to the financial uncertainties in fiscal years 2023 and 2024, both policy and procedure, that need to be addressed, as well as a professional opinion on how to achieve and adopt on practices. Additionally, an operational review will examine the town charter and state statutes as they relate to the BOE to ensure more stringent compliance in the future. To that end, the town council will discuss whether to contract to have an operational review conducted for the Board of Education FYE 2023 and 2024 budgets. An initial scope of services can be found within this agenda. The mechanism to conduct this review falls under the 2009 Groton Town Charter in Section 5.6, Investigation, providing the power to the Town Council to investigate any and all departments, offices, and agencies of the town.
Counselor McBride, are you up to read? Sure. Would you like to take page 69 and 70 and read the scope of service, please, for an operational review?
Scope of services. The requested scope of service was as follows, covering fiscal years 23 and 24. 1, review and analyze the town charter, ordinances, and state statutes as they relate to the Board of Education to determine compliance with regulated regulations. 2, we will perform a review of the Board of Ed's accounting procedures as necessary to identify the current budgetary practices and internal financial controls and provide recommendations for best practices, specifically in the areas of purchasing, payroll, accounts payable, financial reporting, budget process, budget amendments and transfers, encumbrances, journal entries, and systems utilization, parens, Central Square, and Power School, end parens. 3, review town Department of Finance procedures as it relates to the Board of Education matters. 4, examine the Board of Education records and financial reports and determine whether the total expenditures stayed within the amounts appropriated in the final adopted budget from fiscal years 23 and 24. Accounts specifically to be reviewed will include the following. A, health insurance coverage. Determining processes used by the Board of Ed to make healthcare payments. Determine balances owed by the Board of Ed versus the portion of the account related to the town. Determine whether the Board of Ed budgeted amount was transferred into the healthcare fund. B, payroll for the general fund and special revenue funds. This will include review of any overspent payroll-related items, and we will determine how employees are hired, budgeted, and what benefits are offered. 4C, special education costs. 4D, systems utilization, parens, Central Square, and Power School, end parens. 4E, transportation, bus and contract costs. 4F, property costs in excess of budgeted expenditures. Numeral 5, performing accounting procedures as necessary to assess the accuracy of budgeted expenditures, appropriations, and transfers, and actual expenditures for fiscal years 23 and 24. Numeral 6, perform accounting procedures as necessary to assess the validity of expenditure reclassifications between the general fund and various grant funds for fiscal years 23 and 24. Number 7, obtain an understanding of the current budgetary practices and internal financial controls of the Groton Public Schools and identify opportunities for improvement. Number 8, if necessary, recommend additional procedures or changes to the scope of services that we believe should be performed or would provide the town information that is requested in the scope of services. Any additional procedures will require written approval by the town. Number 9, and the final point, make recommendations for opportunities to increase efficiency and upgrade to the best practices.
Thank you. And I want to share that there have been communications, excuse me? Counselor Bordelon, did you say something?
I just had a point of information.
Your point of information? Your point of information?
I was just curious where this scope came from, because I'm just wondering where this scope 1 through 9 came from and who wrote it.
We're getting to that. We'll be answering that question. Thank you.
Okay, because it's just like this is, I mean.
Nope,
this is not
we're
like
in the
the council
opening
drafted
initial
together.
presentation right now. We're in the opening initial presentation right now. We'll get to that.
Okay. All right, perfect. It'd be great to clarify.
Thank you. Counselor Rush, you have to read? Would you mind reading this letter that the mayor had sent? And when you get to the bottom, please don't read this. I will take that part.
Thank you. Letter dated August 15th, 2024, to Jay Whiteloff, Board of Education Chairperson, Groton Public Schools Central Office. Dear Chair Whiteloff, I write to let you and the members of the Board of Education, I'm sorry, let me start that over. I write to let you and the members of the Board of Education know that the Town Council will be discussing at its September 10, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting the contracting for an operational review of the Board of Ed's FYE 2023-2024 budgets and 2024 budgets. The council may authorize the review at that meeting on September 10. The background to this issue is now commonly known. Groton Public Schools narrowly avoided spending beyond its authorized FYE 2023 budget owing to town finance department staff catching and alerting school staff on the issue. The school staff then had sufficient time to utilize existing Department of Defense funds to pay for the cost overages prior to likely being issued a qualified opinion by the town auditors, as well as being in conflict with the state law and town charter. As for FYE 2024, again facing the potential of spending over your allocated budget, the Board of Ed requested a supplemental appropriation. There continues to be an issue with attempting to untangle your finances in order to determine exactly how much, if any, additional funding will be needed. To be sure, there is undoubtedly a variety of reasons that contributed to these financial difficulties, such as inefficiencies and staffing. I think we can agree that there are significant changes that must be made to financial protocols, safeguards, and policies in order to ensure that the Board of Ed will avoid the same situation occurring in the future. We understand that the Board of Ed is working on developing new policies for financial and budgetary management. An operational review is therefore essential since it will give the Town Council and Board of Ed a guide to identify the financial issues, both policy and procedure, and that need to be updated, as well as a professional opinion on how to achieve and adopt sound financial practices. For example, there must be early warning protocols put in place. Additionally, the study will review the town charter and state statutes as they relate to the Board of Ed to ensure more stringent compliance in the future. While I appreciate the recent discussion that the Board of Ed held concerning such a review, I was disappointed that it did not result in an endorsement of the town's efforts to obtain critical information on what was led to the financial problems, which would be fully funded by the Town Council, thereby having no impact on the Board of Ed budget. This review is urgently needed in order to restore the Town Council's faith in the Board of Education finances and to provide peace of mind that the policies you are looking to adopt are sufficient. Most importantly, I believe we have a responsibility to our residents, especially its taxpayers, to account for all municipal spending. The Board of Ed members are excellent volunteers, dedicated public service servants, and want the best for the schools and the wider community. With this in mind, I invite the Board of Education to go on record prior to the town's September 10th Committee of the Whole, supporting the Town Council acquiring such an operational review. Thank you in advance for your consideration of this matter. Please let me know if you need anything else from me. Signed sincerely, Rachel Franco, Mayor. It was CC'd to the Board of Education members, Town of Groton council members, Susan Austin, superintendent, and Delia Morrison, the town financial director.
Thank you. And to clarify, prior to this letter being sent to the full Board of Ed, Counselor Parker, the town manager, John Burt, and myself had been meeting with the school district to find a path forward that would enhance our respective bodies' relationships with each other, as well as discuss additional financial issues, processes, and communications. Then last night, the Board of Ed had a meeting regarding this topic, and Councilor Pacino, would you like to read the response that the Board of Ed has to the town council?
Mayor Franco, the board
Can
passed
you
the,
read the date and who it's from?
oh, wait a second. Oh, yeah,
Circle
okay.
at the top.
This is from Jay Whitloff. Monday, 9/9/2024. Mayor Franco, the board passed the following motion at a special meeting on September 9th. The Groton Board of Education invites the Groton Town Council to work collaboratively, that was almost hard, in joint meetings to set the scope and process for an impartial operation review and a related memorandum of agreement as informed by the collective insights of the superintendent, town manager, staff, to be voted on by the Board of Education and Town Council. Respectfully, Jay Whitloff, Chair, Board of Education.
Thank you. Mr. Burt, would you like to add some items of note?
Excuse me.
Would you like to add to the presentation?
Well, I'll give, if you like, I'd give some initial thoughts. It was already mentioned about the town powers, 5.6 investigations. Council shall have the power to investigate any and all departments, offices, and agencies of the town, and for such purposes shall have the power to issue subpoenas. And subpoenas duce et tecum, at the request of the council, any judge of the Superior Court may issue a capias for the appearance of witnesses in the production of records. I just want to point out, I've heard varying degrees of comments about overreach. There is no restriction per the investigation powers for gathering information. That's anything basically you want under any department, agency of the town. And the same information is also subject to the Freedom of Information Act anyhow. I just want to remind everyone, the Board of Ed is a child of the state when it comes to things like curriculum and teachers, but they're equally a department of the town. It's about 50-50. They have roles under each one, but they are a department of the town. And, I've watched all the Board of Ed meetings too. In terms of oversight, ultimately the financial oversight of taxpayer dollars and any funds over 10,000 falls with the town council. So I think it's imperative for the council to lead any effort for operational review. Just wanted to also mention that funding, if the town did fund, that also layers on another requirement of us ensuring that those funds are spent as you intend. And just generally for an operational review, again, they are a department. Any department, the town has oversight and the ability to get any information that they want. My opinion is that should the town council want to proceed with operational review, which is a policy decision, it should be under the town council and town manager purview, utilizing the scope of whatever that is that satisfies your need for information. That's what the critical point is. It shouldn't be lessened from what you want. I did hear some discussion about some other ideas for additional things like a delay to January 1st from the Board of Ed. Chairman Whitloff mentioned town pay for temporary financial assistance during the review. I do understand this would be a bit onerous for them, and to include in the scope a review of appropriate staffing levels. I do think those would be warranted should the council desire.
The Board of Ed, let me just question real quick. The Board of Ed After this meeting, the Board of Ed could go back and request those, is that correct? The
Sure,
additional
unless
scope?
you gave me a firm, this is what we're doing, period.
Right, but
if
they
you
could
leave-
come back and ask the council
Yeah.
to expand the scope for things that they would want to add to this.
Certainly.
Is that correct?
Yes.
As was requested in the letter that we sent them?
Right.
Correct? Thank you. And it was, a point of information was asked on the scope of services. Where did these come from?
They're modeled on the Trumbull review. I've had some conversations with the auditor that performed that review, that operational review, and then taking Trumbull, incorporating things I've heard in different meetings, and then Dee Morrison, the finance director, and I kicking through those, and then we sent them out, I think, to the superintendent, at least a draft at the time, to the superintendent and chair of the Board of Ed back on the 22nd to see if, so they could review, and then it went to the full Board of Ed and the town council, I believe, on the 31st, along with every version along the way, every change that was made,
I appreciate
starting
that.
with Trumbull moving forward.
I appreciate your explanation. All right. Counselor Gieske, would you like to make the motion? It's on page 68,
Yeah.
second to last page.
Yeah. Item 2024-638, Board of Education Operational Review. Motion to recommend a resolution to direct the town manager to proceed with contracting for an operational review of the Board of Education finances for fiscal years 2023 and 2024, utilizing the attached scope of services with an estimated cost of $75,000 to be funded from the town's Department of Finance budget. So moved.
Second, Parker.
Pacino.
Motion by Gieske. Hold on. Seconded by Pacino. All right, we're going to open this up for discussion. And right before that, I just want to say, with all that said, I would like to share where I just stand on this matter. From the 2023 audit notes, the comments from the auditors, watching discussions at the Board of Ed meetings, an active request from the Board of Ed for an additional $1.4 million of funds from the town due to overspending, multiple years of issues, in addition to various communication issues, I find an operations review performed by an expert is a way to reveal core issues, bring forth solid solutions, along with recommendations of best practices so we may all move forward in an expeditious manner, as another budget will be here before we know it. I've watched Board of Ed meetings, including last night, and to be clear, for the whole community to hear, I do not want to take over the Board of Ed. This is not a war. This is not us versus them. This is not an attack upon the Board of Ed. There are excellent volunteers on the Board of Ed and this council. While I appreciate the Board of Education's September 9th request, they did not respond to the request from the council, which was to go on the record prior to the September 10th Committee of the Whole meeting to support the town council acquiring an operations review. I am not in favor of holding joint meetings. As noted in the charter, the town council is the responsible party to review financial issues. Looking forward and feeling beholden to the taxpayers while respecting the charter, I will vote in favor of an operations review. Do we have any other comments? Counselor Gieske.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to state on the record that I normally recuse myself from Board of Ed matters, but since I do not have a financial interest in the review of their finances, I cannot profit from it. I will be participating in this. So I have a unique perspective. I watched the Board of Ed Town Council budget deliberations in one of the back rooms due to my recusal. And in my opinion, it was tense, there was confusion. And I have wanted since then the need to lower the temperature and get information, just to kind of figure out, what happened. I do want to highlight, through the mayor, Manager Burt, members of the town council And the Board of Education received an email from you on 8-30-24 that I was wondering if you would mind reading the operational review section in that email for the record, please.
Again, forgive my voice.
Sorry.
I commend the Board of Ed on the efforts it is making to shore up their policies and processes, but there are advantages to be gained, some of which were noted at your meeting Monday. I have tweaked my initial scope of services for the operational review by adding in a review of the processes for town finance as to how it comes to handling Board of Ed items. I would like to come out of the operational review by creating the best possible working relationship possible, sorry for you, so possible twice, between the two offices, with both becoming increasingly efficient. And then I went through the Charter 5.6, which I'd already read. And then, I just mentioned it, okay. Under the Town Charter 5.6 investigation, the Town Council has the ability to investigate, including the Board of Education. It will be up to the Town Council to determine whether they will undertake an operational review. Should the Board of Ed decide to do the same, that would potentially be in addition to the Town Council conducting their own. My personal preference would be for the Board of Ed to endorse the Town Council's efforts to reduce duplication of costs and efforts, and you can make a request to include other items that may be of interest to the Board of Ed and to suggest a starting timeline. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question for the mayor. I know that the council forwarded questions regarding the fiscal year 24 request. Did we hear back from that?
We have not had an official response.
Okay. The charter gives us the power to research if we need to get the answers. And as we can see, they did not answer the mayor's questions, and they did not respond to our requests in our letters. This is unfortunate because I was a student representative on the Board of Education many years ago, and I learned a lot. And there are still members on that board that I have great respect for, and they are my friends. And it's upsetting, but I would like to move forward. I do appreciate Chair Whitelaw's efforts in last night's meeting, so I'm actually going to make an amendment right now. I'm going to amend our scopes to include staffing the need and assessing the staffing needs of the Groton Board of Education. And I'm also going to provide temporary support to perform the operational review. My understanding from this.
Hold on a second.
I need a second.
You need staffing.
I added it to a version, if you want to grab that.
Oh,
Ten.
thank you.
Staffing level, at district finance department, is that what you're saying?
Yes. Actually, I'm going to read with the mayor, because I'm in the
Manager.
manager says, thank you. My amendment is to include the operational review scope of services will include a review of the appropriate staffing levels for the Board of Education Business Office. The Town Council will fund a temporary staff/contractor for the Board of Education Business Office for the duration of the work needed to provide necessary information for the operational review.
Did you get this start?
Why don't I do-
Okay.
Any second.
I'm waiting to
Oh.
see if there is one.
Can you repeat the second one? I'm sorry.
The
Point of
Town Council will
information.
fund a temporary staff/contractor for the Board of Education/Business Office for the duration of the work needed to provide necessary information for the operational review.
Second.
Moved by Gieske, seconded by Pacino.
The reason I'm making this amendment is because I don't want to provide further strain on the office that could affect us coming into budget season and coming into next year's audit. And I am supporting this because I think it's needed to show, hey, we're willing to help you and to solve this problem, and hopefully they take us up on the extended intent. This was discussed in last night's meeting, but did not get a vote because they had a further amendment because it did not pass, but that's where it came from. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to respond to that very quickly and just say they had full discussion on that, and the body said no to it. they did not want to ask the council for those items. So the majority of that body, from my interpretation of the meeting, said no to it. The chair wanted it, but the body said no. Councilor Russ.
I would just like a clarification on the amended motion. If the town council provides funding for Board of Education Finance Department personnel, would that be a town council staff member? Would it be a full-time position, a temporary position? I don't understand how that would work, so if I could just get some clarification on that, please.
Well, yeah, if it was paid by us, we would pay directly for whatever, not if it'd be a reimbursement if it's an employee, but my guess is it'll be someone like Ray Engel, the temporary financial person right now, which is a contractor. So if it was a contractor, we could pay directly for that rather than going through Board of Ed, but if it was a staff person, it'd have to be reimbursement.
And Madam Mayor, if I could follow up with just one more question. If the Board of Ed did not vote for that, and we said yes to that, does the Board of Ed have to allow that contractor into their finance department?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Basically, you're allowing it as long as they want it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I'm going to amend my amendment if the Board of Ed so chooses.
Second.
I want to put this out there to you. And just for clarification, if this fails tonight, it can't come back without 6 votes or a year.
I understand.
And if the Board of Ed chooses to ask us for this later, if it fails tonight, it can't come back to us without 6 votes.
I understand.
And without the Board of Ed asking for it, I won't support it tonight.
That's fine.
Counselor Russ.
I'm sorry, Counselor Bordelon had her hand up
I'm
first.
sorry, Bordelon? I'm sorry, Counselor Bordelon?
Well, thank you. For me, as a person who went from RTM to town council, served on the education committee on the RTM, I threw up red flags on concerns a while back, and it was, in my opinion, it felt as if it, not by anyone in particular, but in general, that it was too much, over the top, too many questions, let them run their stuff. It seems as if this process has been going on for quite some time, way before all these other new members have got on there, and they're taking the lead of these new members, and and nothing was ever said before. So I do have concerns. I think we can't just, we can do whatever we want, obviously. We can say there's a lot of laws that we have that we can do in life, but it's how we choose to implement them. And my thoughts and process is more of a collaborative effort. I had hoped that we had a discussion, an open discussion, which we haven't really had, with dialogue back and forth, to really kind of doing this, you send a letter, I send a letter, she sent a letter, they sent a letter. At what point do we just not sit down and go over it, like two bodies? If we're one town, 50% of it, let's sit down around the table. We had we do it during the budget. Let's do it now over this. This should be an agenda item, where we sit and work out this and let them throw their ideas back. Because tonight they weren't even invited, so there's no way to kind of get a pulse of what they want or you can't compromise when nobody's here. There's no way to kind of have proper dialect, which is good government, democracy. Throwing a letter and asking for a response, they responded the way that they felt. I mean, I can't speak for them, I watched the meeting, and now we're saying, or possibly saying, if we don't take that, there's no chance to collaborate now. We left ourselves in a hole here. I think we need to, have a meeting with them I'm for an operational review, all for it. I've been saying it since day one. I was asking questions 4 years ago about budget line items that didn't seem, people were, not in favor of questioning, way before this body. My concern is that we need to sit down around a table with our attorney, with their attorney, with our folks, or have the town manager and the superintendent kind of come up with like, what are the parameters? But we need to like work collaboratively. It's not collaboratively when you're sending a letter and email and waiting for a response. Sitting down and talking, in my opinion, is a way where you can, in real time, get a real response. But right now, they responded. To say it's not a fair response, in my opinion, is not fair. So if we're not clear, then maybe we need to have a meeting. That's how we move forward. There's nothing here that's time sensitive. What has
Thank you.
happened
Your
has
time,
happened.
your time has
So,
expired.
I'll wait for the next.
Thank you. Counselor Rusk?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too have been talking about needing this review for quite some time. I'm concerned very much about the Board of Ed budget and have been for quite some time now. I think it's imperative that this be done as quickly as possible. That being said, with this current amendment, I am going to respectfully ask Counselor Gajewski to remove it from the floor. I feel that if the Board of Ed wants it, they will come forward. I don't want to vote for it and then have it not move forward. And then the Board of Ed doesn't have the opportunity to come back and ask that. We can always add more if the Board of Ed wishes it. But if we vote no on this tonight, on the amended motion, they cannot come back and ask for it for a year. So I'm respectfully asking that that come off. That being said, I feel like it's very important that we move forward on this tonight and that we vote yes for the original 9 scope. Thank you.
Counselor Parker?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With the intent of Councilor Gajewski's motion, I am not in support of. I'd rather them come to us. We've already reached out. We've tried everything we could do. And again, we have to remember, per the charter, they are a department. We are the fiduciaries. We've been elected by the people to ensure that we are doing everything that we can to help the residents of this town. Because we are the financial advisors. We need to take care of this and figure out, can we move past this and have procedures for both sides? Because that'll help the town know what's going on, and as well as the residents know what's going on. My concern is we still have an item on the table asking us for 1.4 million. But I believe, and if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, I believe that they don't need that. But we haven't gotten formal paperwork saying they don't need that. We would have to come up with 1.4 million for the public. This is coming out of taxpayer money, people. And I don't think anybody else can squeeze another dollar out. So I'm all in favor for the first part with the current scope as presented, but not with the amended. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Pacino?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have a question that maybe you can answer. If we approve this amendment, we're offering the Board of Education another body to help out, and they choose not to use that body at the moment. They can still come back and ask for that body, can they not?
Not
We
without-
can't vote on it again, but they can ask for the body again, because they didn't ask for it in the first
Repeat your
place.
question first. Can you please repeat the question?
If we approve the amendment and we offer them an additional body to help out with their offices, and they choose not to use that body, they didn't vote on it. We did. So if they choose later to say, you know something, maybe we could use that body, we can still vote on it again, and we don't have to wait the 6 months.
If we approve it, there's nothing to vote on.
Yeah, so it's just no skin
But
off
it's
anybody's
also
apple.
adding to the scope, staffing levels of their business department. Which one of their members wanted, the other body said, we don't want to put that in our request to the council. The body said no to it.
Okay,
I'm just saying, I don't know if you've watched the meeting, but yes, your question is correct. We can put this in here. The staffing level will add more money probably to the scope, and we would do that, and they would get their information, which I don't know if they even want that information. And the temp support fund, the temporary support of, staffing,
okay.
we could pass it and say, here's the money, but they don't have to take it either. So I don't, as I said earlier, if they had asked for it, that would have been one thing, but they specifically in the meeting said no to it.
I understand. Thank you.
Counselor Bordelon?
Again, my thoughts and intentions was collaboration, and the way that folks collaborate is they get around a table together, hash it out, figure out what we want, what they want in real time so they can respond all together around a table, not through email, because you can't, and now there's no way to respond again. To me, it's not fair, it's not diplomatic in my opinion, it's not democracy, and, we can't even question. So Councilor Gajewski is trying to put some good faith effort into amending a motion. We can't even get a response from Board of Ed because they weren't invited tonight. How are we, how is this collaborating? So I for a review, but at least let's try to bring them around the table first. And if that doesn't work, then you can impose whatever things people want to vote on after. But for now, we've only had a few exchanges via email. I don't think that's the way to operate, in my opinion. I think we should bring them around the table. So I would like to amend the motion, put an amendment on the floor.
Your amendment?
I'm in full support of the whole thing as written. Only thing I would add is that we need to have a meeting to discuss all of this with the Board of Education in real time.
I don't hear a second on that.
That's fine. So again, if I abstain or vote down, I'm for an operational review, but in good faith, I cannot vote on something when I did not give my peers, counterparts, and other elected officials the opportunity to come around a table and discuss this with me face-to-face with proper dialogue in real time. That is how government, that is how our House of Representatives and everyone stay up to 1 a.m. They work together to the very end to come to a conclusion. That's diplomatic, that's democracy, and I think we deserve to do that for them. So that will be my abstention tonight because of that. Not that I'm not for an operational review, I'm not for this particular process. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to clarify, I thought I was very clear on this. There were in-person meetings. There were meetings with the town manager, Councilor Parker, and myself meeting with the school district. And there were discussions, and there were items that were supposed to be brought back to the Board of Education for discussion. And then that led to a letter from the mayor going to the board.
Point of information?
Yes? Your point of information, your question?
Councilor Parker, my question is, does Councilor Parker and the mayor speak on behalf of the 9-member body?
We didn't
That's
speak
not a
on
full
behalf of
meeting.
the 9-member body.
That's not a full meeting. Thank you.
But you made a statement saying there were only emails, and that is not accurate, and I was correcting your statement.
So I'm just going to clarify that I was not part of those meetings. So I did not
You
have
were
a
not.
chance to hear
You were
the
not.
All right, and that's not fair. Thank you.
Fair. All right,
Madam Mayor, may I request a recess?
sure, sounds good.
Can we do that?
All right, we'll be back in about 10
We're
minutes.
in the
It
middle of
is
a vote. Oh,
8.
We're in the middle of a vote.
No, we're not.
You put a motion on the floor.
Point
We're
of
not
order.
voting, though. We didn't take a vote yet. It is 8:18, and we're taking a 10-minute break. We'll be back soon.
You can spray it in their mouth, and they'll react.
Okay, we are back from recess. It is 8:29, and we are still discussing 2024-638 Board of Education Operations Review.
Madam Mayor,
Counselor Gieske?
I would, after discussion from my counselors, and I would like to highlight something. I said we need to lower the temperature. My amendment, I think, would actually raise the temperature. And I did not intend to do that, and after some thought, I would like to remove my amendment that I made earlier, if Council Puccini.
And I will remove my second.
Put your mic
Okay. We are back to the main motion on the floor. Counselor McBride.
Thank you. I'm struggling with this amendment, or this motion. And the reason being is that there's clearly significant issues within the systems of the Board of Ed Finance Department. And I understand how the town has certain powers over all of their departments, including the Board of Ed. But what I'm struggling with is, we're looking back at 2023 and 24. We will never be able to change anything that has occurred in the past. And I myself am one that likes to look forward, not past. So the reason I'm struggling with it is because I don't believe the issue is what occurred over the last 2 years. I believe the issue is, what can they do now, or what have they done recently to put in proper policies, procedures, practices in place to ensure the Board of Ed doesn't do this again, and also to ensure the council, the town manager, and everyone else is receiving proper financial statements in a timely manner. And I think that's where the issue is. I don't know what exactly occurred there the past couple of years, but I think it was, my gut tells me it was lack of personnel, lack of controls, lack of procedures. And although the operational audit may uncover that, my personal feeling is that we as a town, I think, should come together. I'm not necessarily in favor of having a meeting and a kumbaya and all getting together and talking about it, but what I am in favor of is giving them more time, because I think they've had Ray, from my understanding, he's done a tremendous job at improving things there. I think they're making some headway. What I would prefer to do is to give them a little more time to get their house in order. John mentioned earlier about maybe going to January 1st, and I'm not sure of a date, but my thought is we're one town, we should work together, having them correct their systems. I think this is going to be problematic. I think they may even touch upon legal situation if we're going in doing this, and it may not be correct, but it doesn't mean a lawyer won't say, you have no right to infringe upon us. You know, there's always a lawyer, you can get to write anything. So my opinion is that we should work together, give them more time to show us that their house is in order, and save the $75,000 of legal expense. And the other thing with an audit review, I mean, we're not going to get this for 6 months at the earliest, so I don't think it's going to help us any. So my gut tells me I would prefer to work together, and I am in favor of uncovering certain things. The healthcare is, as everyone knows, is a big issue, and I think that needs to be uncovered. But an operational review, in my opinion, is not what I think we need to get better accounting and financial data. I think it's procedures and policies that they should be able to do on their own. We should be able to mandate they complete it, and I think we should give them more time. So that's my general thought for my first round of speaking. Thank you.
Let me just clarify with Mr. Burt. Would the operations review come forward with practices and procedures, even if they're looking at 23 and 24, would that also potentially cover 25 if they haven't changed anything? And see if their policies and procedures are in place properly?
Certainly, I think the old adage is those who don't know their history are doomed to repeat it. You know, you need to know what happened and what got missed in order to catch it, and to make sure you're caught everything.
Thank you. All right. Any more hands? Councilor McBride.
I'd like to propose a motion to delay this matter at this time and give the Board of Ed a few more months of additional time to prove that their house is in order and they're implementing proper policies and procedures to give the town council the information and the familiarity.
I'll second that.
He hasn't finished speaking. I'm
I
sorry.
apologize, I'm virtual, it was a delay. I thought he was done, I apologize.
So you are asking for a postponement
A postponement to allow the Board of Ed,
to when, what day?
Time definite.
what are we in, what's today, September? December 1st. to give the Board of Ed until December 1st to come back and provide supporting evidence that their policies and procedures in their accounting and financial department is in proper shape. And the reason behind that is I don't think initiating the operational review at this time is going to help us for next year's budget. It's not going to be for 6, possibly 9, maybe even 12 months. But I think, and I understand his issue. I'm not trying to escape the issues, but I think, in my opinion, we as a town could give them one more opportunity to continue the work he's doing and to do other things that they need to do to get their house in order without, which I think is going to become a problem if we roll this forward now. But I do realize I don't want to lessen the thought that there are issues that need to be corrected. I just think they could be corrected without the details and the cost to the taxpayer of operational review. Thank you.
Any comments? Counselor Borderline.
No, I just want to thank Councilor McBride. I think that is definitely a fair compromise. I think, especially coming from a person who works in finance as yourself, you know these processes, and I think it is important to allow the time the corrections are being made. There's new board members on here that weren't part of this original deficiencies that were identified. Maybe some were there, but not all. And the new board members that have come in with the help of the old board members, they are moving towards making some changes, which I've seen. So that's a fair statement, and I think the time, and then with time, my hope is to get around the table in a true meeting with all counselors and all board members, since our opinions are not just a few counselors or a few Board of Ed members, a true meeting in its true fashion with true dialogue. So I just want to extend my, support to Councilor McBride. I think that's a brilliant compromise and a well thought out amended motion there that really says, you know what, I respect the process and we are one town and let's work on this together. We know what we can do later if we have to, but let's try this route. The changes are starting to happen. Let's not throw the hammer now. No one was throwing it a year ago when the first audit came in and there was a deficiency. We didn't even do anything about that first one. So
Point of order?
So
Your point of order?
I believe, quote me if I'm wrong, we did not even get information that they were out of compliance because it was caught in time, but we did know that, right?
Previous audit from last year, is that what you're talking about, Counselor Borderline?
the original 2023 audit had a deficiency on how they were using vendors. Am I correct? That's, I have my notes right here.
Yeah, that just came in this year,
We
a couple
just
months
got it,
back.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. You said the previous year, so go ahead.
But it was, we were just talking, right, so my apologies if I misspoken in that way. But even still, and there's been other questions and shortcomings and anyway, but thanks. But again, I support this. I think Councilman McBride's is a fair, honest, diplomatic, true democracy amendment here and really shows good faith of wanting to work with the body as a whole. So I like that. Thank you.
Counselor Parker?
Madam Mayor, could Council Borderline please disclose that she is married to a Board of Ed member, please? Since we want transparency.
Counselor Borderline?
Sure, I'm not going to, because if you watch all you guys love detailed minutes, it's already in there. And, you know, I'm not the first counselor to be married to a Board of Ed member, and that was not asked of the previous member.
Counselor
So I
Borderline?
don't feel I
It's
need
not
to.
debatable, it's just questioning, would you like to
What- if she
disclose
knows,
your,
why doesn't
a
she-
conflict?
Counselor
Because
Parker-
this is something that actually, you were supposed to disclose at every meeting.
That's not true. So if you know it, go ahead, Councilor Parker, go ahead and state it for the record.
Not my husband.
And that's nothing that any other counselor and Board of Ed member has ever done in the past.
Madam
Thank
Mayor,
you.
Madam Mayor,
Counselor Parker?
a Board of member has come and spoke to us last week who announced that he is married to a town councilor. I believe he does it at every meeting, but our fellow counselor does not disclose that. You're talking about the Board of Ed members, please disclose that. That's all I'm asking for. He does it every meeting when he comes and speaks.
I agree. It is, Counselor counselors should disclose any kind of potential, even perceived conflict that they have, and it should be done at every meeting. And it's not just about the counselors or the Board of Ed, it is about the public who watches to know this information. All right, so,
So I have a point of information then. Counselor Franco, does your husband coach for the high school baseball team?
Point of order,
I'm just making sure we're disclosing.
disclosure,
I was
decorum,
asked, so I have the right to ask, correct?
decorum. Please use the correct title.
Mayor Franco, is your husband a coach at the high school baseball team? Is that possibly a conflict?
my
Point of
husband,
order?
I'll answer this. My husband is a coach at the high school, and he does not take any money for that. So he's not employed by the school system. We get no money from that, so thank you very much.
Probably should disclose, just when we're talking about fields and signs.
No problem. All right, so I'm going to comment on the motion, the amended motion on the floor. This is from my perception. You have a council and you have a Board of Ed, and from my own perspective, there's so many questions being asked. So many questions being asked. And people not understanding things or how things are happening or why they're going the way they are. So my thought process is you only know what you know. So how can you fix things if you don't know? If you don't know what's going on, how do you fix it? So the purpose of having an operations review is to show what's happening and to get recommendations for solutions. And this way you can move forward. I do not think giving more time, even to December, is going to change anything. I think it will just be adding more time where between now and December, we could, as a town, be looking for the right contractor, getting a contract in place that has to probably come to the council to probably sign off on, and it's going to take some time there. So if we wait and do this later on, it's going to be pushed out even further. And the thing is, if things are uncovered and you're like in the first few months and they start allowing information to come out, I don't know exactly how that works. These things could be started to be worked on right away. But my thought is you only know what you know. And I'm finding that there are people that don't know a lot of information. And as it has been stated, this council has asked a bunch of questions, and we have not received an official answer to those questions. So I'm not exactly sure how anything's going to be resolved and fixed unless you uncover these issues. So I'll be voting on the main motion. I do appreciate trying to work together. I think having the meetings that we had, sending the letter, asking them to get on board, I think that was a way of trying to extend an olive branch to show. I think our decorum on this council, not saying anything in recent meetings, I can't say all of them, but in the most recent of months of meetings, I have not heard anything negative towards the Board of Ed. And I think we're all in here just trying to do our job and to try and understand what's happening and how to fix it. And as somebody who also works in finance, I think this is a great solution. And Mr. Burt, do you think our finance director, has she given any kind of endorsement?
Yes, I mean, she was part of writing the scope. She fully endorses it and reiterated to me today that she thinks it should be done.
Appreciate
Point of
it.
information.
Your question?
Yes. How many in-person meetings and how many counselors did attend, just for my notes?
I have said this, Counselor Parker, Town Manager Burt, and myself attended. And I believe it was at 2 meetings? 2
Is
meetings.
that considered a meeting? Was it posted, or is it just?
No, it's not a meeting that you would say has to be posted. It's not a quorum. We are allowed to meet. There was no quorum. We're allowed to have a discussion. We're allowed to try and figure out ways to go forward maybe and not have any kind of negative impacts on each other. Yes.
Just want to add, I actually reached out to the FOIA Commission, who verified that's not considered a meeting.
Thank you.
And point of information on the other person, who was there from the Board of Education?
I think the Board of Education can answer that question.
I mean, it's FOIable. You guys just said there was a
No,
meeting.
it's not FOIable. It wasn't a meeting.
So I'm asking who was there. You're saying there was already collaboration with the Board of Ed, and now you won't say who was there?
You can ask the Board of Ed.
Okay, well, thank you.
Counselor Pacino.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through the mayor to Town Manager Burt, if we vote for this today to start the review, when will it actually, in your best guesstimation, when will it actually be boots on the ground starting?
We're already into September, so it's probably going to be close to the end of the year anyways, maybe a little earlier, but
Okay, so before we get somebody boots on the ground, probably going to be looking at December 1st anyway.
right around there, most likely.
Now, between now and then, if they do things like Counselor McBride was suggesting, that changes things, can we then cancel the operation review?
Sure.
Okay,
Now, obviously, if they've performed work, you would be
Yep.
liable for those hours to date.
understood.
Right.
All right, and I would think, and, you know, just me, the carpenter, thinking here, there are a lot of board members there, a lot of them are new, a lot of them are learning from the older board members, who learn from the older board members, and it seems to me that it's like that old story going around the campfire. It gets changed, and it just isn't quite right. So I think a review would be, quote-unquote, a great training session for all the new board members going forward. And that's all I have.
Counselor Merritt?
Wouldn't our questions be going to their Board of Finance and not all the board members?
I'm sorry, say that one more time?
You have old and new board members, but why aren't our questions going to their Board of Finance instead of all the members, new and old?
Our questions went to the superintendent, or to the chair, who then would distribute them to whoever was appropriate.
Well, who do we want to hear from?
And there was a lot of questions that were submitted.
I do recall an auditor that sat here and said one of their problems was COVID, and they didn't have the proper people to prepare their budgets, so they just drew from their office staff whoever was available. One of those recommendations was to train people, cross-train them.
Yeah, that was one of them, yes.
Have they done that yet?
Not that I'm aware of.
Point of parliamentary inquiry,
Your inquiry?
how many speaking times do each individual council have?
This is every new motion.
Okay, so I have 2.
You currently have 2. Counselor Bordelon?
Thank you. So, it said that my request was to, like I said, I'd like to Council McBride's, giving some time, and, I spoke about having a meeting. If it said a meeting occurred, now I have to find out from the Board of Ed, which I'll email the chair after this meeting's over, who was in attendance, and saying that sufficed. To me, that does not reflect my voice, Councilor Parker and the mayor meeting with the undisclosed Board of Ed members that if you choose not to name tonight, does not respect or give me a chance, or the council a chance, or the full board a chance to have a true meeting. So that to me doesn't really count because it's not allowed to have full deliberation with everybody. So when you say meetings have occurred, that's a small cluster of a few chosen folks. Not everybody was invited. So I don't see that as a true meeting then. And I still don't know what was discussed. I mean, I was not there. So can't say that my, voice or thoughts or everybody else's voice for that matter were, brought to the table. So, I think that's important. And in true fashion, when I saw Trumbull, which keeps being brought up, right, and we're using them as a forerunner with, using their documents basically, they actually sat down as a full council and board and deliberated together. And so what I'm asking is that we do that, and we should want to do that, not with just two people. That does not, two people from a council does not represent the voice of the whole body. Two people from the Board of Ed does not represent the whole body of the Board of Ed. So that's not a true meeting. So I don't think, in my opinion, it's fair to say meetings have occurred. Discussions that are not FOIable have occurred, yet I still don't know who was there for Board of Ed. So again, there's a lot of concerns. I'm all for a review, not for the process. And I would say on my own terms, yes, Ian Thomas proudly is my husband. And I don't have a problem, we say it every time. If that's the new precedent that Parker, the counselor, would like to set, sure, I'll say it before every meeting, no big problem.
Counselor Bordelon, that was inappropriate, and you should stop doing that. Do not speak derogatory towards your other fellow counselors, please.
Nothing was derogatory. I said I would speak openly. If you find that derogatory, I don't.
That's not what you said.
What did I say?
Decorum, please.
Mayor Franco, what did I say?
I'm asking for decorum.
There was nothing that was out of decorum, so I'm asking for a ruling on what was not in decorum.
Madam Mayor, calling me the Parker, I felt that was derogatory.
I said Counselor Parker asked me to disclose, and if that's what you want me to do every time, I will. I don't have a problem. That's the new precedent, new rule.
It is not a new rule, it is in Robert's rules.
It has not been done ever before. It's never been asked of me ever.
Point of order.
Your point of order?
Again, decorum. We're debating back and forth about whether or not we should follow Robert's rules. Robert's rules are part of our council rules. This is getting excessive.
I agree.
I agree. Thank
Please
you.
keep your comments to the motion on the floor.
Well, the motion is on the floor, and it was asked for me to reveal that Ian Thomas is my husband, and I have a right to speak.
Point of
Counselor
order.
Bordelon, you're out of order again.
I'm done. I have nothing further to say. Thank you, because I can't even speak.
Thank you. Counselor Gajewski?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Lot to unpack since I last spoke. First thing I do want to say that there's nothing that prohibits counselors. It happens all the time in Congress, happens all the time in the state legislature. My understanding is these discussions were had to craft a piece of legislation that we could review, make amendments to, vote yes on, vote no on. If
No.
we so choose to.
Excuse me, that's not what happened. We
Point of
didn't
order.
craft legislation in those meetings.
Point of order.
Oh.
Your point of order.
I was a delay. I guess you already addressed it. I was concerned about what was going on in those meetings.
Yeah, I addressed it. Thank you. Go ahead.
My
continue.
apologies, Madam Mayor. I do want to state that I will not be in favor of the amended motion. As I said earlier, I have wanted this since May. We have reached out numerous times, and our requests were countered with other requests, and I am actually not in favor of that request of doing a meeting, because in my opinion, that the appropriate form for that to occur would be a RTM Town Council, City Council, Board of Ed Liaison Committee, which
Point of clarification, the motion didn't include That was discussed by someone else.
He's just postponing until December 1st. That is the amended motion.
Correct. So I just wanted to, and we have gone for a while on this, and I would like to get the ball rolling. As the manager had stated during Councilor Pacino's time, that boots on the ground, quote unquote, would not happen until later December. So the Board of Ed, if they wanted to, they could make requests. And, you know, if they don't want to, that's their prerogative. I'm not a member of the Board of Education. And I do want to circle back to what was said earlier in the presentation of the charter. The board's responsibility is to educate our children. The council's responsibility is to manage taxpayer money. And we have a responsibility to do that. And I would be in favor of I am not in favor of pushing it out further. I would like this information now. I think it is responsible of us to do that because, as I stated earlier, we have a responsibility to manage taxpayer money. So that is it for me.
Thank you. Counselor Rusk?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will be very quick. I just remember a meeting in which the Board of Ed was discussing the financial audit, the yearly financial audit. And the very new financial director at that time said, you know, we look at, and I'm paraphrasing, so I'm not quoting him, but it was something along the lines of, we take audits as a learning experience. We are taking this not as punitive. I don't see it as being something that we're telling the Board of Ed, you are doing this wrong. We're taking this as a learning experience. I think we would all like to see where this money is going, where the concerns are, to make sure that this stops happening in the future. Like that was what was said earlier about the Board of Ed coming to us requesting $1.3 million earlier this fiscal year. My understanding is that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that they now have found an excess. So we went from being in the negative to being in the positive from 1.4 million. And thank you, Town Manager, for nodding yes on that one. How do you go from almost $1.4 million in the hole to having excess money? Those are the questions that an operational review can answer. So again, this is a learning process. This is where we as the town and the Board of Ed can come together and figure out what's going on. Because I can tell you that if this was happening on the town side, I would be asking for the same thing. So again, this isn't punitive. This is really a learning process. And I'm hoping that we can come together as a body and move this forward, and that the Board of Ed can hear that this is just a learning experience. We want to find out what's going on so that this doesn't continue to happen, because it's happened 2 years in a row. Thank you.
All right, I'm not seeing any hands. So first, we're going to vote on the amended motion, which is to postpone this until December 1st.
Point of information. I believe it's supposed to go back to a cow. December 1st would be,
Oh, December 1st would not, that
The
would be the
account.
8th then, is that correct?
yes, I believe so, ma'am.
Point of information.
Your point of information.
I believe that the amendment stated that the Board of Ed had until December 1st to respond.
Okay. I thought it was
Is that
postponed
correct?
to a date specific. It's
Specific. You have to
usually
be at-
postponed to a date specific. I think there's a calendar in this drawer.
Madam Mayor, may I?
Yes?
December 3rd would be our meeting, and do we have a meeting December 10th?
The 10th. Shall we change it to the 10th?
That,
And your second agrees to that?
Counselor Bordelon,
Counsel-
do you agree to a modification from the 1st to the 10th?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
All right. So we're going to vote on postponing this motion until December 10th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye. That fails 3 to 5 to 0. We now have the main motion on the floor. All right, we're going to take a vote on the main motion. Let's read it
I'd like to call
again.
roll call vote.
Excuse me?
I'd like to call a roll call vote, please.
Sure. Just to reiterate, the main motion is to recommend a resolution to direct the town manager to proceed with contracting for an operational review of the Board of Education finances for fiscal year 2023 and 24, utilizing the attached scope and services with an estimated cost of $75,000 to be funded by the town's Department of Finance budget. We're going to do a roll call vote. It has been requested. So, Counselor Merritt, how do you vote?
Yes.
Counselor Bordelon?
Abstention.
Counselor Pacino?
Yes.
Counselor Rusk?
Yes.
Counselor McBride?
Abstain.
Counselor Gieske?
Yes.
Counselor Parker?
Yes.
I am also a yes. That passes 6 to 0 to 2. All right, so there is,
Motion to adjourn the cow.
so we will take a motion by Gieske,
Second. Parker.
seconded by Parker. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passes 8 to 0 to 0. We will now go into, let me find the right piece of paper, the town council meeting. Oh my gosh, where's my paper? Thank you. We will now call the Groton Town Council special meeting agenda to order on Tuesday, September 10th, 2024 at 6:30 PM. All those are present except for Counselor Jones, and Counselor Bordelon is online.
9:01. Madam
I'm
Mayor?
sorry, excuse me?
Sorry, point of information. 9:01. You have to call it to, go ahead.
I'm sorry, it is 9:01 PM. I said 6:30, I just read it. Okay, goodness. All right, new business. 2024-638-1, Board of Education Operations Review. Counselor McBride, would you like to take the motion? Flip it over.
Resolution to authorize an operational review of the Board of Education budget for fiscal years 23 and 24. Be it resolved that the Groton Town Council direct the town manager to proceed with contracting for an operational review of the Board of Education finances for fiscal years 23 and 24, utilizing the reviewed scope of services with an estimated cost of $75,000 to be funded from the town's Department of Finance budget.
Second, Parker.
Moved by McBride, seconded by Parker. All right, and this is just to codify what we just did in our cow. Any comments? Counselor Bordelon.
Again, I just don't think it's the right direction. In my opinion, I speak for myself. For full disclosure, I'm Ian Thomas's wife, who's also on the Board of Education. Never been asked to do this before, so bear with me as I'll add it to my list of new things that I must reply, so I will add that on here. I feel that we need to give them more time. I think they've been making measures and movements in the right direction, in good faith, in my opinion. I also think that we need to bring them around a table in a full disclosed discussion. Again, not with a few counselors representing a few views and a few ideas. I think it needs to be a full body, full Board of Ed and Town Council. Without that, there really is no working together, in my opinion, of a compromise. Emails are not enough, and a few counselors and a few Board of Ed members are not enough. So I will not be supporting this. I'll be abstaining because I cannot, in good faith, I want an operational review, but the way that this is written, the way that this is going for me is not the direction I want to go. Thank you.
Any further comments? All right, no further comments. I will just say really quickly that if this passes, I hope this will help bring resolution to some of the issues, and that we shall want to work together cooperatively with the Board of Ed in the future. So with that said, let's take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
McBride abstains.
That passes 6-0 to 2 with Bordelon and McBride abstaining.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Bordelon, a motion to adjourn by Bordelon, seconded by Gajewski. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passes 8-0 to 0. Have a good night, everybody.